Welcome back to part two of Station Square. So, to conclude this, we're gonna finish off with the last remaining questions and then pretty much do it. This has been really fun. I think my next question that I was gonna ask before we had to wrap up part one was, what is something that really helped you maintain a healthy lifestyle, especially throughout the pandemic? Because I know it's been a crazy couple of years. So I was just
Yeah.
wondering how are you, like, yeah, just basically just share, like, your whole journey navigating through the pandemic and, yeah, just everything in between that you also like to,
Mhm.
talk about. Yeah. Like,
Like I s- there, there's a yeah, because like I said earlier, where it was like the pinnacle of my childhood to manhood kind of journey. It it revolves around physical and mental health. Because during the pandemic, I was 12, so at the time, I was just a kid, and I basically had school and video games. That was life. Life was school and video games and chores. That was it. But being in lockdown and schools not being prepared for that, I had no school. I passed I think I did grade 7 up to like halfway, and then I did none of grade 7, none of the rest of grade 7 at all. So I just basically passed grade 7. I was fine academically, like when grade 8 came around and all that stuff. My education was fine, but I skipped half of a school year, right? Essentially. So my life became video games and chores, but chores were only so demanding because I was 12. So there wasn't too many things I could do. I wasn't as strong as I am. I wasn't as tall as I am. I wasn't as smart as I am. I wasn't able to cook things. I wasn't able to lift heavy things. Now I am, right? So like if my mom needs me to help with dinner, I can go help with dinner. But I couldn't do that when I was 12. At least not to the same degree. So it was a lot easier then, and it was more just video games. I didn't have another way around things. It was pretty much just games all day. Because what else are you gonna do at 12 years old when you're locked in a house and you don't know where you're going with it? But like I said, that was my journey. That was the pinnacle, and that was the journey from childhood to manhood. Because check this out: as soon as 13 came around, I got to look at myself looking at 12 years old, and it just took me out of my own body. I made a video about that one recently too, about how you need a second pair of eyes. And my second pair of eyes was looking at how I evolved and how I was during the pandemic. And when 13 came around, took me right out, and it just made me think, why am I doing this? Why am I being this way? I am just playing games all day. What is going on? I had this guilt in my chest. You could feel it right here. Like you're supposed to be doing something, but you don't know what. You don't know what this feeling is. You don't know where it's trying to bring you. You just know you're missing something, some key, something. That was my mental health was particularly affected by that one because I always thought that I was wasting my time, but I didn't know any better. So the only way I knew how to spend my time, I thought I was wasting, which is not a very healthy mindset. It's not where you want to be. But still, over the pandemic, I think that lasted until I was almost 15, or yeah, almost 15. So the pandemic was a weird chunk, like a pretty weird chunk. But I managed to balance my mental health specifically by just being very open to learning, because in that time I didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't know that feeling in my chest. I didn't know why I was missing things. I didn't know what was happening really. I was too young. This was my first experience with feeling like a lack of responsibility. So I spoke to so many people. I went on different platforms like Reddit at one point, and I know there's a joke for how Reddit doesn't give the absolute best advice, and it doesn't. But it also does in the right scenarios. So I went to Reddit, I talked to my family, I talked to my friends, and I just listened to everyone. And my mental health, it it started to teach me. It all started to teach me and heal my health mentally because in the process of trying to figure out what was going on, what was that feeling, why did I feel like I was lacking, I learned all the things, all the lessons that I share today. And I mean, not all of them. I still learn more lessons outside of those years, but a lot of the lessons that I learned and a lot of the things that I know are directly rooted in that one little thing in that couple years gap. And I know it's weird to say, but I really actually did enjoy that pandemic for that reason. I wouldn't have had it any other way. I mean, if people weren't dying and getting sick, then yeah, I would have preferred that. But I'm being honest, it taught me more than I could ever ask for. So my mental health was weird in that time, but the way I managed to keep up with it was just purely learning and experiencing and observing, because you observe your feelings, you experience them, you sit there in the moment, you try and figure out, why am I feeling this? What am I feeling? You ask the questions to people who would know better, to people who would have gone through it, and then just learn, absorb it all, and become a better person. And that is what saved my mental health in that time. I knew so many people who were just they were so affected and never the same after that time. People who couldn't have lived alone, like, or with just their family. I knew people from my school who weren't alone. They were with family, but to them that was too much. They couldn't see their friends, they couldn't see anyone else. That was too much. And it takes good energy to learn to be alone, but it's ultimately worth it. You need to learn to be alone, and you need to learn how to be effective when you're alone. So in that time, and I don't mean like completely alone, I just mean like with your family, not going out too much, just being you in your space and just working with yourself. That is the key to mastering just you, really. Learning how to be alone with you in a space. But still, mental health was a little wonky there for a bit, but I was never depressed. I was never too sad to do anything. I just always had that feeling of like, a why am I this way? Because I was just a video gamer all day. So I didn't like that. But we solved it by learning. And then for physical health, I funny enough, never really worked out in the pandemic. I managed to keep my physique somehow. I really couldn't tell you, but I think it has something to do with my mom's cooking. I think you just need to eat healthy. And then if you eat healthy, then you're good. But that's also because I have a lot, like, I'm young, so I have metabolism and a lot of it. So it's a lot easier for me to keep a physique living off of healthy food and no exercise than it would for someone older to live with no exercise but still healthy food. It's all rooted in your age, really. So for me, physical health was kind of like a God save. It was like a lucky throw. I could have been either or, but I guess I was just lucky this one. Now I work out, but not then. So thank God. Thank God I wasn't rough.
I was actually just about to ask you about, physical fitness because I'm also somebody who's like, oh wow, it really does wonders for your mind and body. Like, you've seen these, this is kind of silly, but like, um, what gets me to work out is because it's a part of like, self-improvement. It's like you feel like you're in a marathon and you're just feel like an entirely new person, after it, and it just feels so good when I mean, like I always move around. Like I always move and I always do like, jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups and treadmill and that stuff. So what I think, and I know it's kind of different for everyone, like whether your workout routine, like whether you like to do it at home or I don't know, at a gym or something, like it can definitely help relieve stress, and it can also like put you in a better mindset than you were earlier, just to just to get that vitamin going outside and it's sunny, getting that vitamin D just flowing in your blood. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, stuff like that.
exercise is just it's a whole new
Exercise.
experience. And that's the thing. Not many people really know how to properly do it and to properly experience it. I'm sure a lot of people here would know, but I'm talking about the ones who, like me in the pandemic, wouldn't work out and still don't work out, don't know how to get after it. There's a shocking amount of people who don't know how to get after that stuff, and it's sad to see. But as the communities start to grow, the gym, the self improvements, and just being better, all that stuff, as all those communities start to grow, more and more people are introduced to it, and it's just good to see because I'd rather see people who are healthy and exercising than sitting there thinking the gym is nothing important to them. As long as they do their job at work, then what other health could they need? I don't think that's right. You need to have something. It's a different experience than just moving. It has a mind effect. It has a health effect. It isn't just motion, but people don't understand that. So, not everyone. So, I'm glad to see that it's growing. I'm glad to see more and more people are introduced to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, because we all need that accountability, like when it comes to gym workout, going to the gym or just even doing it at home, like being more active and not, because I sometimes do fall into the habit of just sitting around and just only focus on work, 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 when it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
dude, my man, I need to get up and I need to just stretch, dude. I've been sitting for
Oh
too
yeah.
long.
When
Yeah.
you might just be sitting too long, and then you can feel it in your back. You just gotta move it quick. You just gotta do a quick stretch.
And
Just gotta
I
give it a little.
I never stay still for too long. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm just kind of like, I just need I just need that activity. I just
Hmm.
have got to get it every day. Otherwise, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it's really interesting too because and also eating right is also what I was focusing on for a while. Like, I had a sweet tooth, and then then I know it's not good for your teeth, but I was that type of kid who is like, oh yeah, sugar, chocolate, sweets, all that stuff, and
Yep.
then cavity. I'm not
Yeah.
going back to the dentist for those two. Trust me. Like, listen to your. I I don't want to be that guy, but take care of your health. Take care of yourself.
Oh
That's
yeah.
really the best advice I can have. Listen to
Yeah.
your doctors and dentists. I wish I had.
Especially because I'm telling you, the dentists, man, I've seen so many things go wrong with people's teeth, and it's just not right. I'm thinking of making a video. Title's gonna be like, "Do you even floss?" We're gonna talk about health in that one, and I love it. I love it. I haven't
Oh,
made it yet. I have like a rough idea for it, and it's just because I didn't used to floss before because I was like, well, what is the dentist doing? Like, I never understood it. I was too young. But now that I'm older, I get it, and I know that I can't be slacking with that, and that's
mhm.
not something I
Don't
could just
sleep
forget.
on that, man. You can't sleep on it.
Nope, you can't be forgetting the floss. So that's gonna be a video. Do you even floss? I can't wait to see what the controversy is gonna be of
Oh no.
people who don't floss versus people who do. I don't know if that'll happen, but it'd be funny if it did.
No, I mean, like, somebody will take it out of context and they read the title. Do you even floss? Yes, I do. I do this.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
they think I'm like a TikTok guy, or or
Yeah,
other people think I'm just trying to be a bigoted dentist. Ah, well,
man.
who am I
Okay,
to clickbait?
yeah, there's your terrible dad. I don't even know if I want to call it a dad joke. That was just,
It's like a
there's your
dad
bad.
joke, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
It's
there's
like a
your
dad joke of a title, yeah.
yeah, there's your terrible joke for the episode.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I get at least one or two each interview.
Masters of comedy today. Masters of comedy.
Yeah, preaching to the choir, but anyway,
Exactly.
let me see. I don't think there's really much else to discuss except, Like I know that we've discussed like your YouTube channel and etc. stuff like that, but like when you first got your start, like I know that you started around last year, I want to say, but
Yep,
um what
midway
was
last year.
your yeah, so what was like your overall goal for it, if you don't mind me
My
asking?
goal. It was interesting because because the way I came upon it, the the reason I kind of started it, it was an interesting one. I don't know if you've ever seen the YouTuber Hamza. He's big in the self improvement niche and all that. And either way, the guy was like a he was a massive inspiration. He was like a mentor in a way, and he's been this way for a lot of people too. But either way it goes, I won't I won't give you the whole content thing, but I wanted to. I looked at him and I looked at how he helped people, and I looked at how he lived his life constantly learning. It reminded me of like a philosopher, right? Like kind of because also part of me kind of discovering myself and and people noticing things about me. They often said that I kind of had like a bit of philosopher in me. And I always wanted to go after something in philosophy. But, nowadays it's a little harder to get like a degree in philosophy because you don't really just talk anymore and people take your ideas the way they did in ancient Greece. Philosophers were like scientists, also but also like advice givers. They were like the self improvement of that time. But that was a job back then. It isn't a job now. So, or it wasn't really a job, but it was something of respect. It was something that had a rank to it. Nowadays, anyone can spew anything on the internet. So philosophy isn't really like a thing you can be. You can't really be a philosopher unless you're going to use something like YouTube to grow a platform that you share your philosophies on. Then you're a philosopher to those people, but you're never going to be like a philosopher to the world. It's only to the people who follow you. Either way it goes, though, I wanted to kind of be a philosopher. And I was looking at how you could do it, and YouTube was one of the ways it came up. And then I also just saw, like Hamza and a bunch of other people who did this kind of stuff. And I was looking at it like I got to give it a try. And so in my early days, my goal was kind of just to achieve that career of being a philosopher and helping people and that kind of thing. And it still is, but I must say as time goes on, I've thought about also using it to achieve other things. My goals have expanded. I have a bunch of other ideas. I want to start a podcast of my own one day. Not now, but one day. And then I also want to have a book, and I'm gonna kind of do a funny thing with that too, where I'm gonna write a part of the book and use that part on on a video. Kind of like the book will be the extended thought of the idea of the video, and then I'll summarize the book's page and the book's topic, the chapter's topic. I mean, actually, I'll summarize the chapter's topic, and then we make that a video. So I'm like killing two birds with one stone. But yeah, we're gonna do that for like a book and then other careers and such. Like I want it all to be fed into kind of by the YouTube stuff because if you have an audience to sell your book to, if you have an audience to grow a separate career into, you're set. And that doesn't mean that I came in here specifically to get an audience to help me make money. Of course, that is still something that I did have in mind. My goal was also to make some money, but but I'm not costing any quality at that goal, I'd say, because the goal itself hasn't corrupted the overall image, and it won't ever. As long as my goal of making money doesn't take over and then I become this weird like one of those YouTubers who are just soulless and they're just in it for the money, then I'm going to call it the added bonus goal because I know I'm going to have a career that isn't YouTube. I'm going to college or university. I'm going to have to do that. But but to make money and to have a book that I could sell to an audience, to share my thoughts better, and to grow a career in YouTube, it's become a whole other goal. But at first, it was pretty much just, you know, I want to try this part of me and I want to see what it can do for me. So the goal was kind of aimless at first. It was kind of just be a philosopher, see where I can go with it. And then it evolved into we're going to have a book at some point and we're going to have another way to share this stuff. We might have a service, might have, I don't know about a service yet because I don't know if it's worth it, but for the future, we might have something to sell. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that we have a bunch of goals now because of it. And so this is a multi-classed activity, I guess you could say.
Mine. And this is gonna sound a little cliche, but did you expect your channel? I mean, did when you started doing those videos, did you expect any sort of kind of traction? You know, for your
Sorry, what was that?
no, like, did you expect like any sort of like, traction or attention? Like, oh,
Oh,
people are noticing your stuff. Like, oh, you're getting your name out there in a way. Like, did you expect any of that at all?
kind of, because I expected that it would come naturally, but I never wanted to push it. I never wanted to force it down people's throats. At one point, like the first video I made, I sent it to a Discord server with people around the similar niche, and I said, just let me know if this is okay, because my camera was horrible, and I didn't know if it was like possible to. I didn't know how to fix it, so I was kind of like, can I get some advice on this? And see, and is it even appropriate? Because I wanted to start off small, and I just didn't want to buy a bunch of equipment, and I still don't want to. I'm doing this from the phone, and I don't think I'm ever going to change that. So at first I had a camera and I was like, all right, let's start with my camera. And it was just not good. So I sent it down in a Discord, and that was the only time I ever shoved it down someone's throat, I guess you could say. But other than that, I relied completely on attraction, and I just knew that no matter what, it would grow at some point. Because if we give it like a very, 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 very basic thought, if you make videos and you gain even one view on one video, and then you make another one and another one and another one, eventually you'll start gaining 2 views and then 3 views and 4 views and 5 views. As long as you keep making videos and you keep gaining subscribers and likes, it'll take a long time, but eventually you will get to a certain point, no matter what. It's like a rolling effect. It's like a snowball. It starts off super, super small as it rolls, but then it will get bigger over time because the more subscribers we get, the bigger the ball. And then it rolls faster and it gets more subscribers and more views and more this, more this. So I knew I was going to get attraction in one way or another, but I never tried to force it. I never tried to put up ads, or I never tried to send it to 1,000 people telling everyone to subscribe to my channel. I let it come naturally. I had a video that blew up and it gave me like 80 subscribers that day. So like I'm thankful for that. But I didn't need to force anything down anyone's throat to get where I need to be. I just relied on the algorithm, and the video blew up at one point. And so there I was.
Yeah. Uh, the algorithm is like super weird
Oh
because
yeah.
like sometimes like I kid you not, like I do these podcasts and they do like these episodes and I post them up and I'm not complaining by the way, but it's like I do one podcast and it does all right, but then I post like I don't know something kind of like I do a meme or like a comic dub or like whatever I do on my channel and it's just like I just posted it, then all of a sudden, it just kind of, oh, okay, dude, I'm not even kidding. Like last year, I was at like 400 or 500 or so subscribers, and then like literally overnight, I don't know how, but um, actually, you know what? I'm gonna do this right now because I know that subscribers don't really matter. Whoa, I'm at 124K. Dude, I was literally at like 114. That is insane. So you
Oh
just
yeah.
never
It's
know
crazy
how,
stuff.
yeah, it's usually like your dumb posts that get a lot of attention for some
Yeah,
reason.
it's I don't know why it does that. It's kind of goofy because
Yeah,
depending on what you do, it it could be the most unexpected video that blows up. I kind of expected one of them to
exactly.
blow up for me. It was my Death Part 2 video. I kind of expected it to get good traction. Same with Death Part 1. And I expected, maybe 100 or something, because at the time I didn't average any more than say 50 or 70-ish. So I was like, 100, 200, I think that's where it's going to go. It blew up overnight into like 4,000. I woke up the next morning with like 50 subscribers. I'm like, what just happened? And it's crazy because it wasn't like it was one of my stupider videos. It makes sense to why the topic blew up, but the algorithm it had like 150,000 impressions. So I was looking at that like, Jesus Christ, its potential to just choose a video and show it to people is so random, and it just picks any one of them. So yeah, it's a weird thing, but well, we can't complain. It's randomized. We gotta use it to our best degree, which is just putting out videos, I guess. Can't control it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just so we like, especially with social media these days. It's like I've also discussed this in the like in previous episodes, but I noticed that, well, much like with everything, it can be um it can have there's like it can go two different ways. Like it can be used for good, it can also be used for bad, but
Oh yeah.
I'm just kind of like, it just depends on how you use your platform. Do you want to use it to be positive, or how you want to use it for? Because I know
Yep.
for both of us, we like using stuff, for positivity, and we just want to use it to help people. So I think
Yep.
it's an amenable effort, but at the same time, it's like, then you have those that, take advantage of it and, try to be like bad influences on people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and
And there's a
also,
lot of
yeah,
people like that. I, I hope you don't mind me sharing quick
sure,
something.
sure, sure.
It's, I see it like with the younger generation and with my brothers, like not all my brothers, but my younger brothers specifically. It's just that I look at the stuff they'll watch with these grown ass men behaving horribly, and they'll get like 20 million views and they got all this money and all these subscribers, but all they do is scream in a camera, and little children find it funny, but they look at the influence that has. It makes kids think that they should act like nuisances and scream all the time because that's funny. So with just that power alone, even the slightest little thing could influence them because they're children. But imagine the most giant thing with 20 million subscribers and all these likes, all these views, and just the amount of stuff that goes on, all the colors and the noises. It influences them way too much. The algorithm promotes that stuff more than I think it should. Because Jesus Christ, if I see more grown men doing that stupid stuff and knowing damn well that they're doing nothing good for the younger generations, then ugh, I lose my mind, man. I lose my mind. It's disgusting to see.
I feel you, man. But yeah, I could go on. I could really go off on that, but honestly, like, that could be like a whole separate video in and of
Oh
its on
yeah,
its own. Like
that's a whole topic.
influences. That's a full topic for like a different episode altogether, man. But um, yeah, it's also kind of like, and also it can be really toxic. Like not just with bad
Oh
influences,
yeah.
but it's also like um not calling out anyone in particular, but I have seen, but there have been posts, and there are people that strictly use social media for like politics, issues,
Oh
and
yeah.
and just airing out personal stuff that happened, and it's usually
Hmm.
just negative stuff that's happened to them in life, where it's kind of like, okay, like I get it and I understand, the pain of what you're going through, but most of it is kind of like like seeking validation. And trust me,
Exactly.
I was guilty of this too, where it's like, I think it's also an outlet for like, oh, like it's where we can discuss our problems and we can just air out our insecurities, which I won't say that like you should keep it in. Like I'm totally for like I'm not completely against like, venting to somebody, to a friend or,
Oh
to a
yeah.
family member or just somebody. Like, but don't use your social media as like, hey, I've had a bad day. Like, if I get this many likes, can you share like any
Yeah.
of that stuff?
It's
Yeah, that could
disgusting stuff.
it's really like it also boils down to like it's somebody who's seeking needing attention and it can come across as
Yep.
really toxic
It's
and don't even
secret
get me
insecurity.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't get me started with toxic positivity.
Yeah. Ugh. It's just that stuff that like people don't notice it as much, but it's kind of in anyone and everyone now because social media is such a common part of everybody's daily lives. Not or well, not everybody has it, but everybody pretty much is aware of it, and most of them have it. So, when people have social media, it's now kind of engraved in people that you 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 kind of have to have this competing mindset because your post has to be better than theirs and you've got to show how your life is so much cooler. But once again, we have to remember everybody's life is just as bad behind the scenes because we all show what we want to see everyone else talk about. We all want to show our highlights and we all want to show the things that we would find the best, but we'll never show the bad parts. But everybody has them. Everybody has the bad parts, but we all forget that. And we all think that, some people are just completely immune and they just live perfect lives. No, nobody lives perfect lives. So social media is good in a way, but if you're using it that way, it's horrible. It's horrible. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why I'm gonna wave this out with if you want to use social media, make sure you know what you're doing with it,
Oh yeah.
because there has been a lot of stories where, a content creator, an actor, or just somebody who has a lot of followers and they are, have got a good rep going for them, and then out of the blue, they, kind of say something really controversial or they made a
Oh
big
yeah.
oopsie,
Oh,
and yeah, don't need to get into that. But yeah, it's just kind of like, and then all of a sudden it's just like, and then it's also due to like, look, it just depends on what the person has done if they should be held accountable for it. I'm all for,
oh yeah.
holding somebody accountable, but like, oh, wow, looking for blood if they did like, you know, because that's the thing too, it's like, when somebody screws up and they're genuinely looking to get better, then don't need to like, cancel them out forever. But if they
Yeah.
truly are like legitimately terrible people, then yeah, but I don't condone like death threats or nothing like
Oh
that.
no.
But
Social
yeah,
media is a terrible place to be forgiven because
yeah,
you
social
cannot be
media.
forgiven on it.
Exactly. And it can be really scary,
Oh
like,
yeah, you gotta learn to keep your opinions almost
yeah,
censored or just to yourself. I find it better that
exactly.
if you just don't say certain things, you're fine because you're gonna piss off someone. It's just gonna
Yeah,
be. But as long as you keep the more heated things on a leash, then you're fine. We
yeah.
get, but even then, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, or like sticks and
Yeah,
stones break, those phrases, but
but
it's
even then,
like,
it's just like with
yeah,
heated things. It doesn't even have to be rude. It just can't be heated. And
exactly.
that's the weird part about it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, make sure to use social media for, for good. And
Oh,
just don't, like, what am I trying to say? Like, be the good that people, be a good example. Don't be a bad example, is what I'm trying to say.
be a
Um,
good influence. Yeah.
be a good
Someone who
influence,
isn't a
exactly.
bully and just unnecessarily rude.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess to close this out, because I know we could definitely go on, but maybe we should save that for I have
That
more
would be an
stuff we
interesting
could talk
another
about.
one,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for like another episode or like on another day.
for
But
sure.
yeah, but for this one in particular, in conclusion, can you name the number one biggest piece of advice
Mm.
that you wish you learned when you were younger and something that you want to close out
Yeah.
this interview with?
If I were to, yeah, if I were to speak to my younger self, like the most crucial thing that relates to him that he needs to understand, and even I still need to understand, is that there is no such thing as mistakes, and that you need to live an adventurous life. There's a, it's this is actually kind of like a couple lessons, but let me explain. So the best life to live, like, would be an adventurous one. And like I said before, when I was trying to figure out who I am and what I need to do, that that adventurous life is a little scary, and you almost don't want to take it. You almost don't want to do it. You do, but then you hear about the risks and you hear about all the things that could go wrong and all the mistakes that could be made, regrets to be had, and it backs you off. But no, never let it do that. If I were to say that to myself, I would have started everything much earlier, much earlier. And luckily, I did this with the channel. Like, as soon as I got the channel idea, I kind of just went at it. So I'm lucky I got it then. But for other things, I would have started much earlier, because you need to live an adventurous life. You need to think in the future. How am I going to look at my life? How's it going to look to me? Well, what am I going to think? And for most of us, we all have a couple regrets and mistakes, which I'll also talk about in a moment. But we all have a couple regrets and mistakes that we look at and we kind of cringe at it. But one of the biggest ones is that we lacked adventure. That's one of the biggest fears on everyone's part. I haven't spoke to a single person that hasn't feared just some adventure. And adventure doesn't mean trying everything. It just means maybe diving into one thing. That is an adventure. Of course, I still like to try a little bit of everything. I dive into everything as well. Like, I like to try adventure as much as I can, but everyone's adventure is different. So if yours is diving into one thing and you didn't do it, if you didn't put your full self and your full energy into that thing, you're going to look at it and you're going to think, I lacked adventure. And that's going to be a regret. So you must live an adventurous life, an actionable life, in other words. But part of this as well is to realize that when you look at when you look at your life now, when you look back and you look at what you've done, you look at the regrets, the mistakes, the key thing you need to realize is that there is no such thing as a regret or a mistake, unless only if you don't learn from it. You need to learn from them, and then they aren't regrets, they aren't mistakes, they're experiences. Because like in my situation, I look back at all the games I played and I looked at how much time I wasted, and I thought that was a big mistake. I had major regrets over it. But the key thing to learn about me was living an adventurous life, which means I have to get over my regrets. I have to get over my mistakes. And in that process, you need to take those regrets and take those mistakes, and you don't look at them as regrets and mistakes anymore. You look at them as experiences. And you say, I did this, and now I've learned what I shouldn't do. I've learned what I should do. I've learned why. I've learned how, learned all these things. So, how can I regret it? It's an experience. It's a learning experience, and it's an adventure. Because if I didn't play those games and I didn't waste my time and I didn't overcome it, then who knows where I'd be today? Maybe I wouldn't have a channel. Maybe I'd still be playing games all day. I know many 16-year-olds, many people my age, who sit around and live school and video games as a life, just like I did when I was 12. So if I never suffered through that time where I thought that I wasted my time,